thank you, and then keep those two precious rectangles of cardboard squeezed tightly in my hand as I head back across the tiles and then turned left towards the ticket barrier. The water's mostly gone by now, I notice. I keep my head down and avoid making eye contact with the man at the barrier. Now, I'm out in some sunlight and finally starting to breathe properly. I find a bench, lean myself back against a patch of already warm brick wall, and discover that my shirt, my best shirt, is already starting to stick to my back. I look away to my right. Down the tracks, I begin to see a dot shaking in the heat. I want this dot to hurry up. I want it to burst into being a train and save me. I know what day of the week this is, because my schoolboy trips up to London were always on a Saturday, even during the holidays, and if I was still 15, then the heat that's making my shirt stick to my back already must be happening on the morning of the first or second Saturday of August 1974. All of that from one small piece of pale blue paper. I'd actually met John 2 weeks earlier, in the gents' toilet that used to be down a sharply turning flight of stairs just opposite platform 9 at Waterloo Station. We'd both been washing our hands, and the first thing that I can remember catching my eye about him was his long and suntanned fingers. They were so very brown, you see, and they looked so strong. Also, there was his ring. It was a gold ring on his left-hand little finger with a small black stone in it. As I stared, that sharp black eye had started staring right back at me, as if it somehow already knew what my 15-year-old self was after. Our hands stopped moving, and before I could look away, it was John himself who was making eye contact. He used the mirror to do it, the one they had running in a strip along the top of the wash basins, and he somehow managed to arrange all of the angles so that our eyes met exactly. And it wasn't a question, the way John looked at me. It was a statement. I felt a kick somewhere down between my legs, and then I can remember John keeping his eyes locked onto mine and smiling at me as he shook the water off his hands. And that shocked me, because smiling wasn't what I was used to on these occasions. I felt my face starting to redden. I was a terrible blusher at 15, and then I just sort of stood there, I think, with my own hands dripping uselessly into the wash basin. The muscles in my throat, of course, were starting to knot themselves right up again. A persistent and involuntary cricopharyngeal spasm, I would label that contraction of my throat muscles now. John turned his back, and then he dried his hands and left, closing the door to the gents behind him. As it happened, there was no one else around, no one to make me feel that I had to hurry with my next move. I dried my hands for a bit. The towel was useless, I remember, all hot and stiff and unhelpful when you pulled it down to try and find a clean bit. And then, well, then I expect I went back to the basins and soaped and washed my hands all over again. That was my usual routine. I would have been hoping, you see, that the door John had closed behind him was somehow going to swing back open all by itself, and that this older man with his suit and gold ring would just walk back in and make everything happen. Make everything happen without my ever having to be responsible for what any of it looked or felt like. However, on this occasion, the older man didn't. The door stayed shut.